Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming in and listening. I'm excited to be here. This is my first live talk. I'm a spiritual counselor and life coach and mental health therapist. I got into A Course in Miracles a few years ago through Jennifer Hadley's wonderful ministry, Power of Love Ministry, and I started doing her classes and spiritual counseling through her program there, and I just loved it. I just have eaten it all up since, and this journey I've been on has just been so eye-opening for me, and it's gave me such deep, deep peace in my life. And so I wanted to share a little bit about, just what I've been guided to share today. I have been thinking a lot, for a long time, but even more lately, I've been getting nudges left and right on this idea of acceptance, and particularly self-acceptance. This idea of self-acceptance constantly comes up with me in my own life, with when I'm working with clients, just constantly coming up, and it's been coming up even more the last few months since we've all been staying at home and we've all been trying to adjust to this world and all of this uncertainty, because when we have uncertainty, we have a very difficult time accepting the situation, and we don't know what's to come, and that's scary and that's uncomfortable, and it gives us a lot of anxiety and doubt, and causes us to catastrophize and imagine the worst things. And so, I've been talking a lot about this with people, and it just keeps coming up. So I wanted to share how I have learned about self-acceptance through A Course in Miracles. And so I and you, we are all one. We are all innocent children of God. And furthermore, because God is love, we are love. And so I am an innocent child of love. That has recently really been calling to me. It feels so affirming to me when I say I'm an innocent child of love. Because when we think about God, people have, various experiences growing up with concept of God being condemning and unforgiving and punishing and all these things. And we know that's not true. Yet we don't really believe that that's true. And we don't believe that they're about ourselves, that we are worthy of forgiveness and worthy of love. And so if I can say to myself, I'm an innocent child of love, I don't even have to think about being an innocent child of God. Maybe that's too difficult for some people to get down with, and that's okay. And so, thinking of God, of Spirit as love is, I feel like it's just so affirming, because we know that only love is real, and again, we don't live our lives this way. We don't believe this all the time. We're trying to get back to this truth and remember this all the time. So this idea of acceptance, what happens, I feel like sometimes, in the past I've, met spiritual teachers and people who, and A Course in Miracles students, I think, get into this dilemma too, where we feel like we can't get right to that truth of, I am only love, and only love is real, and this is all an illusion, and all these things that we just have faith to be true, that we've heard in A Course in Miracles and in our other, spiritual teachings and things. But what if we can't get there? I mean, we need to do something to guide us towards getting to that place. We're just not always automatically going to be in that place, right? So this is the dilemma we're faced with all the time. We're not living in that place of love. We're not feeling that. We're not feeling that towards ourselves. We're not feeling that towards others all the time. So if we're not in that state, that means we're in some sort of unpleasant state of some sort of fear-based emotion, right? We're in ego. So we have to work with that state first. We can't just say, okay, see you later, and kick ego out the door and tell it to never come back, because that's not the way it works. Ego it's renting a room in our mind, right? It's there, so we can't just kick it out, So we have to welcome it in, and we have to be willing to accept that those messages that we hear and those beliefs. So this is the thing I've been thinking a lot about. So if we're willing to accept that ego voice has been running the show for ourselves for maybe it's the last 5 minutes, the last hour, the last week, the last year, whatever, the last decade of our lives, if we're willing to first accept that we've been having these unpleasant, painful emotions, huge emotional experiences, feelings of grief or shame or guilt, feelings of being betrayed by others, being abused by others, as children, and anything we've experienced, we have to be willing to accept that we feel bad, first of all, that we feel bad in this moment, and that we had harm done to us. And yes, life happens by us and not to us. Yes, we know this. But again, that's not how we experience it in the moment. So we have to get back, we have to work with it from that moment, from that place of where we are believing. We can't just dismiss that in which we believe in the moment. So, we have to give that a voice, and we have to be willing to accept it. So, and acceptance isn't about accepting, I think that acceptance is not about accepting what harm was done to us was okay or was justified, or that, I'm just willing to accept that it was okay that this person hurt me, so severely or for so long, or that this person betrayed me, or that this is happening to my body, my body is breaking down, or it's not how I want it to look, or, this person left me, this person, walked out of my life. And the acceptance can't start with, oh, I'm just willing to accept that happened. It has to start with being willing to accept the emotional experience we had. So being willing to accept the meaning I make of this. And so Dove is saying, I do this to myself. So this meaning we make of things, this is the choice that I made, to make this meaning that I feel hurt by this act. And so I made this meaning, and so I can't start with saying, oh, I'm just going to forgive this person who hurt me. I'm just going to forgive. I have to be willing to forgive them. I know I should forgive them. No, this process has absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. Absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. It's completely a process we do with ourselves. And so this is what I've found to be tremendously helpful and healing for me in my own life, and for the people I work with, in that we have to get back to ourselves and be willing to accept that we made this meaning out of this thing. And the meaning was, it the meaning was that, oh, I don't get to feel joy or peace anymore. I don't get to feel love anymore. The meaning is I have to feel pain from what was done to me, from what happened to me. And that's just not true. But to get to that truth, we have to be willing to accept that we chose to cause this pain, to hold on to the pain from that original pain that was done to us. And so this is the thing. And so, you know, what we also do is we will say, you know, oh, I feel so horrible about this. I feel so angry about this person. You know, I'm angry. I can't forgive this person. I'm in so much pain. You know, my life isn't where it's supposed to be, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the thing is then what's happening is we are actually having judgments about a judgment. So we're already having a judgment, which is a false belief about ourselves. And then we're putting a judgment on top of that judgment saying, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, right? So this I feel like is the opposite of self-acceptance, because I am saying I should not feel this way. I should just be able to get over it, or all these things that, you know, people have told me throughout my life. Just stop crying, get over it, you know, pick yourself up, you know, move on. But the thing is I have to be gentle to myself about this. And so this is where it starts. So I have to stop abusing myself, really. I mean, if we think of, you know, if we thought of a judgment we have about ourselves, those things, if we thought about the things that we say to ourselves, that ego says to us, we don't say those things out loud to other people, to other children. I mean, maybe sometimes we do to other people, but we don't say those things, say, to children. And so something that I really like to do that I find helpful is this idea of so if I have a judgment on myself, so the judgment is, oh, I can't make enough money. You know, I'm not worthy of making money, for example. I'm selling myself short. I'm abusing myself saying that. But would we ever say that to somebody else? Do we even believe that about other people? No, we really don't. And so the things we say to ourselves, you know, you're unworthy of love. You know, you're stupid. You're not good enough. You know, you're never going to get this and that and this in your life. You're never going to be happy. We say those things to ourselves, yet would we ever say those things to children? If we could imagine ourselves as a child, which we all were children, none of us came here without being a baby and a child, those things we say to ourselves are never things that we say to children. And so it's like, do we have to call Child Protective Services on ourselves for the things we say to ourselves? I mean, this is insanity, right? The things we say to ourselves are things that are like reportable, you know, serious things, you know, criminal behavior, and yet we're saying these things to ourselves. So, you know, it's good to laugh about it. And, you know, I have a good friend who she said something just beautiful one day about this idea, and I just love it. I love to say this to people, in this idea of don't talk to my best friend that way. You know, telling our ego to just quiet down. Stop talking to my best friend that way, meaning my best friend is me. So again, these are things that we would never say to our best friend, yet we say them to ourselves all the time. And so we have to be willing to look at that and ask ourselves for forgiveness. And the thing is self-acceptance is self-forgiveness. That's what it is. So the concept of forgiveness is very, very daunting, right? Kind of like it feels very unachievable for many people. And so that's why I like to frame it as acceptance, because it seems a little bit more achievable to say, I am willing to accept the meaning I made of this. I would like to choose something different. I'd like to choose peace. And that right there is a forgiveness process. And the thing is this is a process. So a process is made up of many moments. So, this process is something we do. We have to do this all day. Most of us don't do this forgiveness work in a moment, and then we're just miraculously healed from that thing that we were experiencing. It doesn't work that way. It might work that way for little things, or for people doing this work for a very long time, that really can just offer that up in any moment. But the thing is when we offer it up in the moment, and experience that miracle, that aha moment of feeling forgiven and forgiving ourselves and maybe forgiving another person, and we have that peace, that's wonderful. But then it comes back around. It comes back around because this is the work that we're here for. These are the lessons that we're learning. And so it's going to come back around and around and around and around. I mean, I've written, Jennifer Hadley, my teacher, has this forgiveness letter that we talk about a lot in class. And, I have written forgiveness letters to myself on the same exact thing, like over and over and over, for the same thing, about the same person that hurt me, over and over, 7-8 page letters, over and over, because this is the thing, is it comes back around. And so it's something we have to be willing to accept this experience in any moment it comes up. And every time we're willing to accept that experience, we've already made a shift. Okay, that's a miracle. We've already made a shift of feeling pain and feeling, sadness, of feeling shame, whatever big emotion. We've already made this beautiful shift. And so that's wonderful. And so this is the process of forgiveness, really. And, in A Course in Miracles, it says we don't need to be forgiven. So it's talking about God. So it says, God is the love in which I forgive myself. God doesn't forgive, for he has never condemned. Love forgives. And so this is the thing, is us as humans, we feel that we are bad somewhere deep down. Usually it's an unconscious belief in the moment to moment. We're not consciously thinking that we're bad necessarily, but we have a belief that we're bad. From day one, we're brought in this world as bad and we deserve bad things. And so we have to look at this on a human level. So yes, Spirit has already forgiven us, right? Love forgives. Love has already forgiven. Love doesn't even understand forgiveness. It's not even in its vocabulary. Love doesn't have that vocabulary because love just is love. So, but the thing is we have the vocabulary because we are humans, and so we have ego. And so we have to look at it from that place, and we have to kind of entertain this crazy illusion of we have something to forgive. So that's where we have to start. We can't get to the end point necessarily by saying, oh, love forgives. God has already forgiven me before I even did anything. Before I made a transgression, Spirit has already forgiven me because there was nothing to forgive. Well, no, because that's not how we're experiencing it. So I want to choose to see things differently in any moment where I am seeing things as something other than love, when I am seeing myself as something other than love. And again, every time, if you can think of a time that you are in a state of truth, a state of love, a state of peace, a state of knowing you are worthy, of remembering that you are worthy, then you can think of a time before that moment where you were not in that state, right? When you were actually believing something false about yourself, that you were not worthy, that you were not loved. And so you made a shift in every moment that you felt a state of, maybe it's just neutrality, maybe it's not even love or joy, maybe it's just feeling neutral, feeling okay. We've made, probably thousands, probably millions of shifts throughout our lifetime to move from this state into the state of truth. And so if we can move that many times into the state of truth, then why can't we do this all the time? And if we can stay in that state of truth for, say, 5 minutes, who's to say we can't stay in that state for an entire day or month or year? Or when we get out of that state, who's to say we can't get back into that state more easily? We can. Because I'm going to choose to see something differently, I'm going to choose to see something differently other than the way that I see it, because what harm is it going to do if I have a belief that's causing me to feel uncomfortable, to feel some sort of fear or unpleasantness, what harm is it going to do if I decided to entertain the idea that maybe, just maybe, that belief is not true? I mean, really, what bad could possibly happen if I entertained the idea that I am worthy of love, that I am worthy of abundance, that I am worthy of joy? I mean, I work with many people, and there's this theme that comes up about, well, if I really love myself, isn't that going to make me selfish or self-centered, right? Isn't that going to, make my head explode with, with ego? And the answer is no, absolutely not. That's not really what we're talking about when we talk about self-love. So if I walked around really loving myself, I'm not going to be self-centered. I mean, what is more self-centered than having the belief that I'm a terrible person? I mean, if I have that belief, I could become obsessed with it, right? And I lived that way too. A few years ago, before this journey kind of started for me, in order for me to start this journey of peace, I had to go through the pain and the heartache. I had an illness that caused me to feel like a victim for years. It got worse and worse. I didn't know what was causing it. There was just so much pain, so much victim mentality in that illness I experienced, so much helplessness. And I mean, in a way that I was so convinced that, I was in pain, which, I was experiencing physical pain and exhaustion and things like that. But I mean, really, what's more self-centered than trying to find proof around us all the time that we are terrible people, or that we deserve pain or illness, or deserve to be alone, or whatever we're thinking we deserve. I mean, let's get over ourselves, guys. Let's get over ourselves. If we really love ourselves, we are not selfish at all. And when we love ourselves, we're actually acting out of love And other people start to feel that and experience that. And that's not selfish, right? That's treating our neighbors with respect and love and support and caring. And so, this is the thing. So we have to accept ourselves, we have to get over ourselves, stop taking myself so seriously. I have a mug I'm drinking from right now, and it says, "God bless this hot mess." And I just love it because it reminds me that I am a human, right? I'm a hot mess on any given day. We're hot messes. That's part of being human. We have this weird body, and, it gets diseases, and it gets blemishes, and it, gains weight, and, does these weird things, and it just continues to age, and we, there's not much we can do about it. But before I can really get on board with that whole concept of I am not a body and all those wonderful things, I have to say, am I willing to accept this body that I'm in right now and all that it's experienced and the unpleasantness it is experiencing right now? Because I choose to believe that I am a divine being having a holy experience or a human experience, right? I am a divine being having a human experience. So that means I have to actually align myself with the human experience in order to go to that next step, to that next level. I have to meet myself and walk beside myself, having that human experience first before I can get to where I need to go. My body is still a vessel that gets me where I need to go. And ego gets me where I need to go, because without ego, I wouldn't have gone through the painful experiences of my life and wouldn't have learned these things that I'm guided to share today. What would I have learned if I was just, asleep my whole life and, my life was okay. I never had much trauma. I never had anything really bad happen to me. Really, what did I learn? How did I grow? I can't really experience true love for myself if I didn't experience a hate for myself, a hatred towards myself, an unworthiness of myself at some point. How would I know what love of myself really is, love towards myself really is? I wouldn't know. I'm certain that I wouldn't know this because, growing up, I think that looking back, I could say, yeah, I loved myself. I was a fairly content, happy kid and, was blessed with lots of things and people. But the thing is I didn't really, if I compare the way that I experience how I love myself now, I am awake now in the way that I feel that now, because I had the pain before this that brought me to it, and I can look back and I can compare, and I got myself out of that pain. So I know some of you listening probably went to the Course in Miracles conference last weekend online. Such a beautiful conference, so many wonderful things in that conference. And so Neil Donald Walsh, one of the last speaker of the conference, was talking about this idea, and I felt very inspired to share this idea. This is inspired from his talk, in that this idea that, so what if I just lived for a day? So what if I just lived, let's go back even farther. What if I just decided that I was going to live for 5 minutes and go about my life for 5 minutes pretending that the belief that I am perfect love, that I am forgiven, that I deserve peace, that I'm worthy, whatever belief you want to put in there. So imagine, so connect to your hearts right now and imagine a belief that you have right now about yourself. This belief, imagine a belief that makes you feel bad. And so we're going to say, what if I decided for 5 minutes I was going to live today just pretending that this belief was not true. Okay, so whatever the opposite of this belief was. So if my belief was, for example, when I was sick, I believed I never was going to heal, which wasn't true actually. I'm not sick anymore, and I did heal. But at the time, I was so impacted by it, so victimized by it, that I believed that I wasn't going to heal. So if that's my belief, so what if I go for 5 minutes today and walk around choosing to believe that I am going to heal? And I can look at this as, I can just pretend. Like, I don't have to say, okay, I'm going to believe now for 5 minutes that I am going to be healed of this illness. Okay? I could just choose to pretend. So what if I just did this for 5 minutes and I pretended that that wasn't true, that I actually am going to be healed someday? What if I decided that I was worthy of health, worthy of love, worthy of anything? Okay, what's going to happen in those 5 minutes if I really pretended to believe that? Is the world going to implode? Is the apocalypse going to happen inside my living room? I don't know. Why don't you guys try it and let me know? If you're still around, I will assume that you are okay. If we're willing to believe that this stuff is true, how could that possibly be worse? So let's try, what do I have to lose? Because what have I been doing so far? In any moment, I chose to stay with that painful, unpleasant experience. So in any moment, I can choose to stay with that unpleasant experience and have it, shift into different emotions and do what it's going to do. Or I could choose, and so that way nothing changes, right? Like, nothing in my life is going to change for the better if I just decide I'm going to stay in this place and I'm not willing to accept it and all these things. Nothing's going to change. It's going to get worse or it's going to stay the same. But if I choose to say, okay, I don't want to feel this anymore, I'm willing to accept that this is okay how I feel. Because this is where the guilt comes in. This is where we feel the guilt and the shame in, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. So the fact is, you're a human and you're supposed to have those emotions, right? That Reverend Josh and Reverend Mary was bringing this up in the last hour too. This is our experience. We have them. We can't just not have them. Okay? If none of us had these emotions, these unpleasant emotions ever, we wouldn't be alive. We would have transcended out of our body onto the next course, to the next level, the next life, whatever we believe. We wouldn't be here. So this is the work. And, it starts with this just one step of being willing to accept where we're at. And, yeah, and, there's lesson 23 in the course, in the workbook, it says, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. And then it goes on to say, there's no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. So the thing is there's no point in trying to change the world. That's why we have to change our mind about it. We have to change our mind about ourselves. And so I choose to believe that I am love. And I choose to believe that if I live my life that way, my life is actually going to get better. And it has. It really has. I mean, I feel deep peace in my life right now. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for the pain that got me there. Because without that pain, without that illness, without that heartache, without all that anxiety, I mean, I had crippling anxiety for years. Anyone that knows me could, talk about that. I had panic attacks, all the time. I had so much anxiety, so much avoidance of the world. I mean, I was really, literally scared to live. And I don't feel that way anymore. And if someone had asked me, do you feel like you're ever going to not have anxiety, not experience anxiety? And I'd be like, no, absolutely no way. Like, this is just part of me. This is my brain. This is just how I'm supposed to be for some reason. But you know what? It actually wasn't true. I have human being levels of anxiety now. I have anxiety about money and, anxiety about mold making me sick. That's the thing that made me sick. And, I have anxieties, but I don't have it to the level that makes me fearful anymore on a daily basis. I mean, I have this sense of peace that I never thought I would have had. And again, it came from experiencing that anxiety. So it has to be some sort of pain to get us to where we're going. I'm not saying we need the pain or we deserve the pain to feel the peace. I don't know that it's we need the pain. I can speak for myself in saying I know that I needed that anxiety, that fear, that pain to get me to where I was. And I'm grateful for the friends and family in my life who stuck that out for me, because I was not a pleasant person to be around. Those years that I was sick, boy, was I not fun. I can see it now clearly. But in the moment, I was really like this actor on the stage, just like, I don't even know. I can't even, it's hard to even go back there and imagine that place I was in. It was very painful for me and the people around me. And, I had to forgive that. I had to accept that, and I had to forgive that's how it needed to look and feel for me to get to where I am today. And so there's so much gratitude that we can pick out from our lives. So much gratitude. Because whenever we feel pain, there's still something in our day that we can appreciate. Even the most depressed person still can hopefully find something that they appreciate. Like if I was really depressed right now, I could still be sitting here next to me, I'm watching my cat sleep. I can be grateful for her. I can be grateful that I've got some food in the fridge. I can be grateful I have a roof over my head. There's always something small to be grateful for. I'm grateful that I can walk outside in my patio and breathe some fresh air. So there's so much gratitude around us. And so if we're not ready to feel grateful for the experience we're having, like if we're not ready to feel accepting, if we're not willing to accept the unpleasantness that we're having in the moment, maybe we can just instead shift to, what did I appreciate about my day so far? Did I have a really good piece of toast this morning? Did I have a clean shirt to put on? Something small that really even doesn't have to have anything to do with what we're experiencing in the moment. We can just shift out of that completely and go somewhere else with it and be thankful for something else. And there's peace in that. Yes, and furthermore, the Course says in Lesson 135, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? So the universe has planned for us to experience goodness because we are good, right? So if we are not feeling good in the moment, that doesn't mean we're bad. We're having a bad experience, but it doesn't mean we are bad, right? Just because I said something hurtful to someone or did something hurtful, it doesn't mean that I am a hurtful person or that I am bad. It just means I made a choice in that moment that was not out of love. So it's a call for love, We hear that, everything is either a call for love or an act of love. And so when we're feeling bad about ourselves, that's a call for love of ourselves. These calls for love aren't just towards other people, they're for ourselves. So when I feel bad, I'm just calling out for myself to love me again. Right? Let's fall in love with ourselves again. So those are my thoughts. I have a poem I want to read to everyone, and this is a poem that I have a lot of dreams that seem to be very direct messages from Spirit, and my subconscious seems to be very open to this stuff during the night. So I had a dream one night that I was reciting this poem, and in the dream, and originally in the dream I was telling the poem to my mother, but then it ended up being that I was actually saying the poem to myself in the dream. And so really it was a message to myself. It was a message from my higher self to me. And because we were all one, it was a message from our higher selves to ourselves. So this is a message for everybody. So here it is. I don't love you in spite of your big belly. I don't love you in spite of your alleged imperfections. I don't love you in spite of the illnesses you've experienced. I don't love you because you are beautiful on the outside. I love you because I don't see beauty as something physical. I love you because I don't see beauty as something to see at all. I love you because I know truth, that beauty is an illusion. I love you because I know your body is not real. I love you because I know that our egos have made up the construct of beauty. I love you because I know to not believe this illusion of beauty, which only limits us. I love you because I know that love is something that cannot exist on a physical level. I love because I love. I love you because I am love. I love you because you are love. I love you because you are not a body. I love you because you are much more than a body. I love you because you are only love. Truth is that we are only love. Love cannot exist when we see bodies in form. We cannot see love. We are love. We feel love. Love is. We experience love. I love because I love. I love because I am love. I love because I am. I love. This is beauty. This is beautiful. I am beautiful. I am. You are loved. You are love. You are. You are beautiful. You are. So that's the message today. And yeah, I feel a deep peace just having shared all this with you all. So thank you for everyone listening. And if anyone wants to connect with me, you can find me at kellylashcoaching.com. You can email me at kellylash@gmail.com. Love to hear from anyone and connect with anyone. Thank you, Scott. Scott's heard my poem before. So I don't know. I don't think I have anything else to share. So I appreciate everyone's comments here in the chat. And thanks, Scott, for posting the website. What's the poem I read? That's a poem that someone asked, what's the poem you read? That's a poem that I recited in my dream one night. And so I woke up and wrote the poem down. So that's just my own poem. A message from Spirit, not really mine at all, actually. And it's called Love and Beauty. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. That's about all I have. Yes, I will send you a copy of the poem, Dove. I would love to do that. I'd be honored. Thank you. All right. Well, I hope everybody goes in love and has a loving day and does something to fall in love with themselves again. Because if I did it, anybody can do it. And that's the truth. Thank you, everybody.